My next mindful conversation is with a challenge legend, Cara Maria, who has made a triumphant comeback to the challenge with appearances on season 39, season 40, and All Stars 4. I had the pleasure of meeting with her last year. I had been a fan for many years, and I gotta say, I'm an even bigger fan after meeting with her. And I look forward to all of you listening to this deep dive conversation that I had with her about the challenge and about life from a mental health perspective. This is my return to the interview platform after taking 2024 off to grieve for the loss of my dad. So I hope all of you enjoy.
Hey, Cara, it's nice to see you again.
Hey, good to see you, Carl Jr.
Carl Jr., I'm glad you said that because I've been walking around New York. I saw you not that long ago. I
hmm
saw Tori a little bit after that, and Tori called me an imposter. She called me a doppelganger.
What do you mean accidentally?
Turns out it was just your doppelganger! We love you!
Yeah,
So I
you're
just
not.
want to clear up who's the real Carl.
Well, will the real Carl please stand up? He's probably macking on some ladies right now. You've never seen me and Carl in the same room at the same time. So I can't tell you where he is, but he's definitely up to no good. But I gotta say, you rock that look. Like I honestly feel and it's funny. I think you mentioned earlier before we started, you got that wig from a '70s, like
Yeah.
a '70s theme party. You got it from a Halloween store, and
Yep.
Darrell. That's actually where. That's probably pretty much the exact wig that Carl was wearing because it was stolen from Darrell when Darrell left. He left a bunch of his stuff behind, and he had that exact wig and the aviators for like his '70s theme. He rocked it. He looked so cute in it.
That's pretty cool. So I guess to clear that up, I was trying to keep it going, but Cara does not want to play along.
What?
So I'm not really Carl. I'm sorry
Oh,
to break it to you, but my name is
fail.
Mark Fail. I have a YouTube channel that I'm welcoming you to. The channel is called Mindful Reality, and it's a channel that covers reality TV from a mental health perspective.
I love that.
So I want to tell you a couple of things that you don't know. Well, before I get to that, I just want to introduce you to my channel. This is Cara Maria. She has been on, this is from Wikipedia. I had to adjust. I might be off a little bit. 17 seasons of the challenge. It said 15 on Wiki, but it seemed like it didn't count the spin-offs.
hmm
So I counted 17, made 10 finals, won 3 of them, went on a run of making 6 consecutive finals at one point and winning half of those, which is really hard to do. Not many people had done so.
Thank you.
You have the record. I think you're tied for the record for the most elimination wins of all time for a woman.
Wow.
I think you're tied with Anissa. You both have 14, but you have the highest percentage if we're going off of percentages. And I consider you one of the biggest zero to hero stories in challenge history because you came on the challenge, you weren't prepared for anything, you weren't working out, and all of a sudden you became this competitor that everybody fears. So thank you very much for joining me on my channel.
Thank you for having me. It's been a wild journey, that's for sure. I'm excited to hear your perspective and your questions and see where this goes.
Right. So before I even get into the question, the part that I was going to tell you you didn't know. I used to watch the challenge, but there was no internet or there was no like feedback and watching people's podcasts and things like that back in the day. You just watch it and that's it. And I had my one or two friends that I might talk about the challenge with them on the phone. Then I got on YouTube and saw something called AfterBuzz TV. At the time, Maria Menounos was hosting that. So I was like, oh, this is pretty cool because I get to see the show and then I get to see people talking about the show within the show.
Fun fact,
Yeah.
at the 39 reunion, I met, I was talking with Maria, who was like, you should do wrestling. And her husband was like, I know a good school you could go to because he's really close to a bunch of the wrestlers. And he hooked me up. He's the reason why I'm in Orlando right now, going to wrestling school. So, and he is the CEO of AfterBuzz. So it all kind of like
Oh,
doopity doop doop ties right in.
full circle.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this is not the first time I tried to get this interview with you. You probably might not know this, but when I started learning about Instagram and social media and how to reach out to people that you want to book for different things, I came across the what's it called, the tagline, and then I saw a management email for you. So I clicked on it. I sent out a message. I was like, I have this mental health related page on reality TV. And this is when you were off of the challenge for a few years.
Okay.
And I got a response from the manager who's managing that page.
John. Yeah.
John? Okay. So it was John. So he was like, unfortunately, Cara Maria is not doing challenge interviews at this time. She's taking a break and focusing on her mental health. But she said,
Oh, so funny.
but
That's
but
so
he
funny.
but he said that she thinks that it's badass that you had this channel that talks about mental health. So I was happy and I was sad. I'm like, that's a nice compliment, but also I didn't get the interview. So I kind of moved on from that. And then what, 3 years later, I'm just scrolling through Instagram and it's like, oh, I'm gonna be in New York City in a couple of weeks for a fibroids event. And so I said to myself, would that be strange if I went to go meet somebody for a show at a fibroids event? I even asked a couple of people, and they're like, no, because you're supporting the cause.
Hmm.
You're going to learn some information that you probably don't know, and you get to meet her. So 3 out of 3.
And you were such a beautiful surprise to meet. And I can't even tell you how I get so many amazing, beautiful, thoughtful gifts from when I meet fans, and I'm always blown away and thankful. But when you gave me that bag and I opened it up, and it was the three extra stars that I needed that I didn't have, and you're like, here you go, and I made them. I was like, oh my gosh.
Oh my god!
So I thought the ending was unfair. So I mean, these don't mean anything. However,
I have them decorated all around my media room, and I have the one that you autographed like right front and center. So I really, I still am holding on. I have it on my coffee table, the original star, and then I have
Yeah.
all your stars decorated up around the trees in my media room. It was so
I,
sweet.
I was glad that you got that right away. When you took them out, you were like,
I
what?
definitely got
2,
that right away.
3. Whoa, the 3 stars. And I was like,
Just what
when
I needed.
I was at first trying to buy some stars. So I reached out to some people who do Etsy and stuff like that. And someone was like, you could do that yourself. So they sent me somewhere where I could buy the stars and then I spray painted them. And, I was excited that you reacted that way. And then when you said, can you autograph them for me? I'm like, can I autograph them for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were so sweet. You even did the you just it was so sweet. It really meant
I
a lot to me. And I had to keep them so protected because after that, I think I went from New York. It was a constant travel. Those stars went with
You told
me.
me, I think you told me you went to California or something, or if
It
you
went
went to
from New
France.
York to San Diego to Paris,
Yeah, yeah,
finally back to Florida. And I was like, please don't let these break. I had to keep them so safe.
yeah, yeah. I'm appreciative of the fact that you kept them and that they meant something to you.
They do. They make me smile every time I see them in that room.
So I started off by doing something that most interviewers might not do. I watched your home turf episode.
Oh,
And I remember I had previously watched it and I was like, oh, maybe I guess she's coming back. Maybe that's why they're putting this out there, which they were. They do a lot of foreshadowing of people who are going to come back. And I took a few notes of some things that I saw in there. One of them that I wanted to know about was a young Cara growing up in Massachusetts. You said that you were like the last person picked in dodgeball. You were different than the other kids. You were artsy. You loved horses. And can you give us like a little bit about what that upbringing was like?
yeah, it's so cliche. But it's really it's true. I grew up as an only child from my mom and from my dad, who were like never really together, and they never had any other kids. It was just me. My dad's a race car driver, so he wanted me to be into race cars my whole life, and all I cared about was horses. My mom was a club rat who wanted me to be a ballerina and a pageant girl. So no sports excitement, no nothing. They could care less about sports, neither one of them. And so my mom tried to push me. She had me doing pageants and ballet and tap, and I hated it. And all I ever wanted to do, I would paint pictures, ride my bike. I was a bit of a tomboy, and I all I wanted to do though was ride horses, and I couldn't wait till my mom let me quit dancing and then start riding horses. And I started when I was 9 years old. My dad was not into it. He wanted me to do race cars, and all I cared about was horses. So that's all I did. That was my only sport. It has not served or helped me in any way in the challenge world. Uh, like I'd go to the beach maybe and do some boogie boarding. I wasn't like, I'm gonna swim and like volleyball. And I just never did any of that. And people are like, how do you grow up and just not do that? I was like, I don't know. We played cornhole. Like we didn't do sports. I don't know what to tell you. So
Uh,
that was my life. Even in all the way seventh and eighth grade, I did do cheerleading with a little bit of gymnastics, like competitive, but I really wasn't good at it. And then I tried again sophomore year in high school, and it just wasn't my thing. All I wanted to do was be at my horse. So sports just never happened for me. And even when I was growing up, like in grammar school and at the recess yard, it was like a cement recess yard at a Catholic school. So it wasn't like there was real sports, you know what I mean? And in the yard, they would have us do like dodgeball and kickball, and nobody picked me for. They'd be like, "Oh God, Cara's coming up," and like everybody would come in and know that I sucked, and I'd either like pop it up for an easy catch or I bunt it. Anytime somebody kicked the ball, I'd Daria it. I'd be like, "Oh, it went that way." Like I couldn't catch it. Zero agility, zero coordination, zero anything, and that's why the challenge was such an eye opener.
that's so interesting. I lived in Massachusetts for about 6 years or so. So,
Where?
Worcester,
Oh,
Worcester area.
Worcester.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got all of my best friends lived there for a long time. He's in that whole area. Like he just
Okay.
basically runs. He like runs Worcester. Yeah, I was the best man at his wedding. He's
Oh,
been friends with
nice.
me since I was like 18.
Wow.
But yeah, he's I know that area very, very well.
So I wanted to ask, you were not really a reality TV fan at the time when you applied, right?
Yeah, I think reality TV, the only thing that there really was the real world at the
Hmm.
time. Because I think, when you're little, I remember, my older cousins would maybe they'd watch a little bit of the real world. I'd see road rules every now and then, when you're channel surfing, what's on MTV. But I
Yes.
was more of a like MTV. I loved music videos, and I loved Daria, and I loved
Hmm.
South Park, and I loved
Hmm.
Beavis and Butthead, and I loved, I like Singled Out,
Oh, you're giving me all the
TRL.
nostalgia right now.
Yeah, that was kind of my go-to jam. When I was growing up. It was like Clarissa Explains It All. Like I don't know what I was looking
Yes.
at, what I was watching in college. I think I was obsessed with Nip Tuck. So like
Hmm. Hmm.
I wasn't like, oh my God, this reality show's on. I have to watch it. I have to see what happens. It was just like if an episode, I'd catch it, and I remember, and I've told the story a million times, like my friends would be watching it.
Hmm.
And it was that story that I've told like 5 million times, that my friends were watching it. And I was like, I was trying to tell them something that happened. And they're like, wait for a commercial, because I didn't have TiVo pause and all that. And I was like, what do you even care? You don't even know these people. It's just stupid. And I literally was in my head, I was like, I'm just gonna shits and giggles. I went, I was like, click, 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 and I applied for total shits and giggled. And I remember specifically on the MTV.com website, it said casting for the real world is closed. And I was like, whatever. I was like, if someone sees it and maybe they want me, whatever. Never in a million quadrillion gajillion years did I ever think that my life was going to take me here. Ever. It was just a shit in a bucket. I don't know why I use that analogy, but where it went.
I don't know why either, but we're just gonna go with it.
We're here.
It's interesting to me how sometimes these stories start that way, where it wasn't even something that you were going for or trying to do for real. And then next thing you know, it just becomes this huge thing that became a big staple of your life when you weren't even looking for it. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
And I definitely don't take it for granted at all. Like, I'm still blown away, because when you really think about it, like, I'm doing something that so many people wish that they could do, that they watch on TV. And it's almost like my brain doesn't process. Like, I know there's such a difference from the edit that you see on TV as a fan, and living it, living every moment of it, the plane ride, the anxiety, the
Mhm.
getting there, the production, the getting mic'd up for the first time, the opening up your underarm bags for the first time, like seeing the house, like being in there in the moment, the hotel before and after, all the stuff that you'll never see on TV that I experienced. It is the most surreal thing that I will never take for granted, because I am so lucky to be able to do what I've done, even if I'd only ever done one season, and to have come as far as I have. Um, it blows my mind, because I still don't consider myself athletic. I don't consider my like I just don't. All I consider myself is extremely stubborn. So whatever you throw at me, even though I might not be the best at it, or I have no idea what I'm doing, or I'm absolutely peeing my pants terrified, I'm still stubborn, and I'm gonna get it done. And I know I have that going for me. But everything else, dude, I'm just happy to be here.
Everything you just described to me sounds like a dream to me, honestly. I think about all that stuff and I'm like, it's so cool to watch you guys jumping between 18 wheelers and, the trivia is not so cool because the heights over water parts,
I agree.
not my thing. But
I I have to say, I get so excited. Like, I know I'm scared of everything, but I'll just put that out there. Like, TJ could be like, hey, run over and put clothes on that mannequin and then eat that plate of donuts. And I'd be like, oh my God, I don't know if I know how to do that. I would be panicking just because of the environment, the competitive nature of it. I'd be panicking. But um, the things that I look forward to doing are the anything climbing, which I know that was a big bomb, and I'd like to forget about that on this last challenge on 40. Because I was so excited to do that. That was a dream challenge for me. I was just so excited, and I didn't get to do it, and I hate that. Um,
right.
but I love anytime there's cars or trucks or trains or any type of vehicle where you're driving in it, you're on top of it, or you're jumping from truck to truck. I love stunts. That's one of my favorite things to do. I love anything that's like just run and do a puzzle. The only things I hate are heights, water, and trivia. Really? So most of it.
True. So most of it. Yeah, your relationship with TJ is kind of funny to watch because it's like I look at it almost like big brother, little sister vibes.
Yeah,
Because he'll be like, oh, you'll say something and then he'll make a facial expression
dude.
or you'll roll your eyes at him. And it's like, it's so specific to you. But then on the other hand, he'll be like, you're one of the greatest ever. You know, you're a badass. Like he gives you the best compliments, but he also ribs you a lot.
He is it's so funny because like TJ reads me to filth. Like, and I look at him every time I pull up to a challenge. I'm like, TJ, you mother! Like, I get so mad, and I know he has nothing to do with it, but he's like, "What, Cara?" He goes, "This is fun." He goes, "I do this." I was like, "Yeah, because you're fucking nuts, TJ. Like, I don't want to do this." He goes, I want to do this one, but they won't let me. You know what I mean? Because they can't risk him getting injured or whatever. So there's a lot of things he wants to do and play, but he can't. So it's like I'm freaking out. And TJ's like, "What? This looks really fun, man. This one looks gnarly. Like, I'd love to do this." I'm like, "I know, I'm sure you would, TJ, you crazy." Um, and trivia, clearly I never
Oh,
hate.
he loves when you're up there for trivia. That laugh of his.
Oh Lord. I honestly, there's nothing scarier to me than trivia. Unless it's we've done variations of trivia where we've done like it's like a game show, or we've done eating trivia.
Mhm.
Anything that's not just like here's a contraption over the water trivia, like I'm cool.
Yeah, all of those would freak me out. I would look just like Darrell up there.
Lit-
But
Literally.
transitioning into Darrell, I did want to talk about your first season, Fresh Meat too. And I wanted to admit I was not like instant Cara fan.
Nobody
I'll
would be. I
say,
was there for one episode.
but what I mean by that is I used to watch the challenge because of my real world people going
Hmm.
over to the challenge. And I'm like, I love to see them interact in this physical, competitive environment where they're partying and doing challenges and all this stuff. And the same way how the challengers were looking at y'all is how I was looking at y'all. I'm
Hmm.
like, you don't have a show? So you're like
Nobody.
a you're like a show orphan or something? Like, what's
What? Well,
happening?
no, my show is the challenge. And there's
Yes.
only two groups of people that can ever say that. And I wish I took pride in it back then, but I was just so used to being bullied that I was like, oh, this is just on course, on par. Um, but it's so crazy that like the new kids will never have to go through the hazing that that me or other fresh meats had to deal with. Everybody from the fans
Yeah.
to the real worlders, everybody's like, you don't belong here. You're not a real castmate. Like, what are you doing here? Like, everybody made us feel like dog shit, And then they were like, they brought in Camilla from that random spring break.
Yep.
She
Yep.
didn't get people were mostly just confused by her. Nobody really picked on her. They just put her in all the eliminations. Then came are you the dating show people? And
Yep.
I, having been someone that was like crapped on so hard for being a fresh meat, I was like, why are we bringing these dating show people? They don't belong here. Like I was just following suit. But they didn't get the amount of crap that we got as fresh meat. And
Yeah.
then and then now they're bringing, now the challenge is just an open playground for everybody from all over the world. Like there is no, it's just open borders. You know what I mean? But
They brought a wrestler on there before. It's like it's
everybody,
like you just had to be
any
on something.
show, any like Corey from however many days of Christmas, like that's the most random. Was that like a Hallmark movie? I don't know. It's
I
just the
couldn't
most
even tell
random.
you.
I don't know who finds the castmates. It's wild, but like I do know for a fact that fresh meat. I'm proud to say I'm from that now because I can say my original show is the challenge. Everybody else came from somewhere else. I came from the challenge. I was born on the challenge. I learned on the challenge, and that's a rare thing to say. So I'm proud of that. But going into fresh meat, man, I had no clue what I was doing, and I was the first one gone, and I thought that I was like, oh yeah, you know that about adds up. That's usually what happens. Like, of course I'm the first one gone. Like I never expected a million years that I'd be back. And here I am.
I don't know. So I have a interesting maybe theory for you because I was wondering from Fresh Meat, which you and Laurel came on together, and then you become rivals. And I was actually watching, those seasons as I was brushing up for this interview.
Oh,
And I'm
I
like,
love that.
there's things that are kind of missing. I still don't understand. Then I looked at another interview you did, and this might sound like a crazy theory, but I put a whole bunch of things together.
Ooh, do
And
tell.
I saw this story that you told about Fresh Meat 2, where you scored the highest scores on the draft combine because they did a whole draft combine. They had
Hmm.
a notebook. I actually was gonna put the picture on the screen, but they showed like a little thing of the notebook that showed all your different stats.
I still have the notebook,
Oh, you
by the way.
actually have the notebook?
I
That
have it
is
not on me. If I would have thought for this interview, it's packed away in storage at my dad's back in Massachusetts. But I have the notebook. I have
Was there only one
everybody's
copy of it?
scores. I don't even know
There's a
how I
few.
got it or how I kept it. I must have taken Durrell's or something, but I have it.
Yeah, so they actually got a notebook that had everybody's different stats, obstacle course, 40-yard dash, shuttle run, three cone
Hmm.
drill, bench press, pull-ups, vertical jump, broad jump, etc.
And I didn't
So
know any of this shit. For me, it was like being on a playground. I'm like, what do you want us to do next? Okay. Like I was just having fun because I had never trained for any of that.
that is so crazy. So from what you said that your stats were pretty close to hers.
Hmm.
And then Darrell asked you, what's up with the puzzle score? Like, why were you so
Hmm.
bad with the puzzles?
Yeah.
And then what did you say?
I was like, I had no clue what I was doing. Like, I don't know. Like, you want me to jump over the wall and run really fast straight and do some pull ups? Cool. Like, this is fun, jungle gym. But when you do all that and then there's a puzzle, I'm like, wait, what? Like, I just couldn't even process what they were asking me to do. I was so confused. So, um, and Darrell was like, his decision making was like, well, I can, I'll be able to figure out the puzzle if she can't, but at least she's lighter than Laurel, so she'll be easier to pull or hold or whatever. And that's why he picked me. And she's mad and has held this against me forever that he picked her first and then changed his mind.
You know what? I was gonna say it was a crazy theory, but now you're actually saying it. So I guess it's not a crazy theory. Maybe that's actually what it was.
Oh
Because,
yeah,
like
they
I
should.
said, unless there's something we were missing, you can watch all the episodes and be like, why is she like, you don't deserve to breathe my air? You
Yeah.
can't, you can't, you can't, you can't. You're a
Yeah.
JV player. I'm like, where is all this stuff coming from? And it still, to this day, doesn't actually make sense to me.
I just wouldn't treat someone like that. I don't get it. Maybe it's an athlete thing. I don't know, and that's why I'm not used to it. But yeah,
But moving on a little bit from that, because there's still more, unfortunately, in upcoming seasons.
yeah.
You talked about when you became strong, and I actually went back and watched the elimination you were talking about against Emily Schramm,
Hmm.
where you and her competed in a pole wrestle. Round one, you pretty much held your own, even though she got you eventually, and she was like, "Oh, she's stronger than I thought. She doesn't give up."
I had the worst technique going into that. I think my arms were straight. I didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't even have them. You should be tight, like bent, like right up in it. And I was like, I had no clue what I was doing in that one. Bad
That's
technique.
that's why I say that even though you didn't start as an athlete, you've kind of become an athlete through doing these things. Because
I, I
or
think I
maybe
got
you just learned how to do those specific things
yeah.
from the challenge. Okay, I
I
got
think
you.
I got better at the challenge, but if you were to be like, Cara, let's go kick a soccer ball around, you would laugh.
So I wanted to know because you said that was the beginning of your strength training journey because you were like, I got to get my weight up, I got to get my strength up. So what was it like in the off season after that when you started going to the gym?
I just literally went to a CrossFit gym and was like, "Hi, I do this show, and this girl is like a CrossFit beast, and she just threw me over her head, and I need to be stronger." And then they were like, "Okay," and so I just joined CrossFit. So that's basically, in short, what happened. So, but it was Emily because she was really, really, drinking the Kool-Aid for CrossFit at the time, and she looked incredible. She was strong, and she was, yeah. And I didn't perform very well that season. I think it was a combination of my partner, like my mental my mental state of mind and stuff. So um it was not a good season for me overall, but it did give me the wake up call to go and take this crap more seriously.
I mean, generally, how much can that impact you when in your work environment you are facing difficult things with a relationship on the show and you're trying to win the show at the same time?
There, all I can say is when you are removed from it as a fan and you're just watching it, everything seems so quick, so easy. When you're there, the mental toll is about 90% of it. It's extremely difficult. I think they call it the challenge, not for the dailies and the stuff that we do, but for literally just making through it. I know, people, the reason we're basically in a pressure cooker environment, and things that, like, if I'm watching a reality show, I'm like, why does this person even care? That's so stupid. Like me, you know what I mean? I'm watching, I'm like, that's silly. Like, why are they starting to fight over that? And it's when you're in that environment, everything is just completely amplified, especially because you have no freedoms, you have no knowledge of what's ever going to happen. They could wake you up at like 4 a.m. and be like, challenge, like,
Yeah,
surprise. Like,
yeah,
you just never know. You're like, what are we doing tomorrow? Is there elimination? Like, are we for sure doing that, or what's going on? Like, they like to keep us in a state of unknown,
yeah.
and you have no control really over what you're eating, when you're going to eat. They do their best. I'm not saying anything about production, but it's just all of your child again, basically. You can't drive yourself anywhere. You can't just pick up your phone and call someone. You're just a child in
You-
a pressure cooker
you're
environment.
right. You're out of control of the
Yes.
elements. Yeah, it could be
Yeah.
something where y'all are just chilling in the house one day, sipping on some wine or something, and then all of a sudden, TJ's like, "Yo, what's up? I'm here. Your next your next challenge starts right now. Put on your clothes and be ready in 10 minutes." For me, I would see myself freaking out.
I will say, we do know that something's going to happen if we're not allowed to drink. So that is,
Oh,
we are such little investigators. So it's like, we know, like, if production's acting a certain way, or if something in the schedule is slightly off, we're like, oh, something's gonna happen. Like, we're always on edge, like trying to pull out anything we can. We aren't supposed to know what's going on in the world or in America. So we can't talk about anything current events. I'm like, hey, who's the president? Like, is everything okay? Like, we don't know
mhm.
anything. So we're so out of it. And it's a wild, wild environment. I will say, like, you have to ask, like, if you want. I know I would beg them for like gummy bears or chocolate or a movie night, and we just all we because that's the only power we have is just to like ask, and we've got to be the most annoying creatures in the world for production, but we just ask for things and speculate, like all of our days are, and they're
I could
extremely long
imagine
days.
so. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could only imagine that, especially as an adult now that's so acclimated with always moving, doing things, looking on some kind of phone screen, and then just being in an environment where those things are not there and it's just people around you. I can
Mm-hmm.
just, yeah, I could see that
and
being the case.
and you get very suspicious because
Oh,
everybody's plotting
sure.
against you. So now you're like it's like paranoid central.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit about War of the Worlds 2.
Oh.
And because that was the season that you described in Home Turf as you felt like you did too many seasons in a row and it was wearing on you mentally. So you said you had a beautiful hero arc and then you turned into a villain.
Crash and burn, man. Crash and burn.
So there's one particular part that they showed in that episode on YouTube. You probably know the part that I'm going to get to, but it was when Jordan had just beat, I think, Josh in that elimination, and then he proposed to Tori. And then it showed, the comment that you made after he said, "Oh, I'm going to sabotage the team," and then you told Tori that she's going to be paying for the ring after he
I
sabotaged.
I would never say that to anybody. It was an
Right.
under the breath comment that because
Yeah,
I was mic'd got
yeah,
amplified, but I
yeah.
never it was just like a side comment to Polly under my breath. But
Right.
yeah.
But unfortunately, being on TV with the
Yep.
mics and everything, they were like, "This is the one that we want here." And then they caught Polly like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
So I know that you said at that particular time, which was I think a couple of years ago that you did that documentary thing,
hmm
that you were like, "I probably shouldn't have said that, but I also wouldn't be me if I hadn't said that." How do you feel about that now?
I mean, I can't take back anything I've done because it wouldn't make me who I am. It wouldn't give me the learning experiences that I've had. Clearly, that's not a good look. Um, I know what my reality was during that season, and my story was completely different than what was shown. I think the entire season was shown from the other people's point of view. Do you know what I mean? Like, if anything was asked, it was only the responses from their side or their people. Like, our alliance never really was able to like chime in. It was kind of a story told from the underdog's point of view. And had that season played out differently with, Laurel and Ninja's elimination, um, we would have been the underdogs, that everybody was coming after because they were coming after us from the beginning. And I remember that I was hurt that Tori and Jordan were basically working with the other side, was what I thought um, at the time. And everybody was just trying to get rid of us. When I was like, all I had wanted genuinely was to make it to the final with Tori and Jordan and have like a double power couple in the end. And I wanted to
Yeah,
work with them.
I was
But that,
yeah. I was
yeah.
gonna say, like, I saw some stuff where I heard Tori saying in some of these seasons, Cara is my friend.
hmm
So we kind of remember this contentious, like, there's so many seasons that we forget things, but
It's
I actually saw a couple of things where she's like, that's my friend.
it's complicated. I think we have a very complicated story, and it spans so many years. Um, and the more we talked about it, the more it was like, on Dirty 30, I basically took her under my wing. We became friends on Dirty 30, and then we met up again on Final Reckoning. And because I was partnered with Marie, who had her whole alliance on the other side of the house, and I had just come off Vendettas, where I had become sort of in an alliance with Johnny and become friendly with Johnny. And Tori came in wanting to go after Johnny and get rid of Johnny. So all of this friggin' goes back to Johnny. I was trying to protect his ass. And I was like, well, we can't really go after him. And then Marie wanted to vote some certain way, and me and Marie couldn't agree on a vote. And there was so much back and forth. And for whatever reason, Tori ended up in the elimination, and she blamed me for that. And then she went home because I mean, she was with Derrick Henry. It was she was never going to survive with him as her partner.
Yeah, he was
And
bad. I
yeah, nothing
remember
to do
that.
with her. She did not have a chance.
Yeah.
So she had blamed me for her early exit on Final Reckoning and thought that I basically betrayed her because we were friends on Dirty 30. And then I forget what happened. Then we met up again. She came back on War of the Worlds 2 because Jordan wouldn't do this show without if they didn't invite her because he had started dating her.
Mhm.
And then she comes back on War of the Worlds 2, and I'm like, oh, we're working together. Like it didn't occur to me how bad she held on to Final Reckoning. So when I thought that we were cool and Jordan and Polly are friends, and Jordan and Polly and Tori are friends. They knew each other from back in Jersey. Um, I was thinking we were just going to work together. We're on the same team. Let's just make it to the end together. Two power couples, put it aside. Let's go. And throughout the season, it became clear to me that they were playing a different game. And I remember being upset by it. And then, when me and Polly, when Laurel and Johnny just outright threw that challenge to get rid of us, and people were making fun of us in the bus, and there was so much stuff that just wasn't shown or talked about.
I
But
was gonna say, yeah, we haven't
we
seen that.
were oh we were getting attacked hard right out of the get-go on War of the Worlds 2, me and Polly. Like, they wanted nothing more than to absolutely get us the F out of the house. So the only thing that turned everything around was Ninja winning that elimination. Because if Laurel came back, it was just her, Johnny, Nani, Tori, Jordan, Georgia. It was everybody against me and Polly, basically. And so, and then there was all the stragglers. And so Polly and Cam kind of rallied the stragglers on both sides, and we survived because of it. But it made us look like the bad guys because it
Y'all
happened
got a
too
really
early
heavy
on.
villain edit. Yeah,
It, it's
definitely.
it's true. We were not the villains that season, but
Yeah.
I understand, a show needs to be made.
Right. I understand that. So getting after that, that's when you finally had a break after so many different seasons that you were just going back to back to back. And I want to know,
Yeah.
how was the break for you physically, mentally? What did it do for you? Did you learn some things from it? Was it hard?
Uh, it took truly at least 2 to 3 years for me to completely unplug
Wow.
because I was so melted. I don't honestly, to Johnny's benefit of the doubt, I cannot imagine what goes on in that man's head because he is, as far as he breathes, his bleeds the challenge. He is the challenge. Who is Johnny if not Johnny from the challenge, right? So I know how hard it was for me to, because I got so wrapped up. Social media was very vicious at the time.
Yeah.
People would not be allowed to say remotely any of the things that, like, they would say and pile on. Like, we were just completely, any time that people knew they could get clout just by saying terrible things about us. Like, let me say something really bad about Cara and Polly and then plug
Yeah.
my podcast, or let me
Yeah.
say something really bad about Cara and Polly and plug my clothing line. Like,
Yeah.
people were brutal. And so not only were we not doing challenges, we were getting just decimated at every turn. We heard that uh, people were still constantly talking about us on the challenge, on the seasons that they were filming. There was people that were like, "Oh, if Cara and Polly show up, we're gonna leave. We're just gonna quit." There was just it was a dark time mentally for me, brutal. And who was I if not Cara from the challenge? I'm not on the challenge, so what do I do? What am I working out for? What do I do with myself? And I was blessed that I was able to be with my horse for what turned out to be the last year of her life. So I was able to give her be with her, which I wouldn't have if I had been gone filming. So everything happens for a reason. But I kind of just had like a moment of, oh crap, who am I? What do I do? And it was Polly that pushed me. Like, he started a business and it was during the pandemic, and he's like, well, we gotta get up. And he started a business from nothing, which he still runs to this day, and I'm beyond impressed because I don't know if I'd ever be, maybe I would now with his help and his guidance, but like the fact that he did that was incredible. um, he pushed me back into painting and photography. He's like, you love these things, do these things. He found a place for me um, in his company to do the photos of the models. He found photographers for me to train under. He helped me out, and we tried to pull each other out of what was like a really dark time mentally, because even though we were trying to focus on standing up again and walking on our own again, like as on our own, so much of the challenge was just it was just pulling us back in, and it was just so dark. So I wanted to, I chopped my hair, dyed it dark. I didn't want to be Cara Maria from the challenge with the red hair anymore. I didn't want to see anything that had MTV on it or had the challenge on it. Like I spiraled, and a lot of it was just because I was so melted in to the matrix, to the toxicity of the fans and the social media and what was going on there. And it, I should have gone to therapy, but I didn't. I tried to just have horse therapy and manage it on my own with like reading and book club and like and it was a really heavy time. But I think, you know, me and Polly could have broken up 100 times and we survived. And I can't, as difficult as that was, I don't think I'd be in such a good place now if I didn't have to go through that. And I see the challenge world entirely different. I'm incredibly thankful to be a part of it. I don't take, the social media stuff. I'm out of it. Clearly Twitter's been deleted. I don't really post that often. I'm not. Everything's not challenge. I'm on TikTok doing silly things or TikTok shop or random observations. Like I'm trying to have an identity and get a fan base outside of just the challenge so that I don't get melted in again and I can keep myself in this healthy sort of light.
I can understand that. You do 14, 15 years or seasons of something, and then it just melds in with your identity. And I remember you even talking about how you used to take things that happened on the show
Yeah.
in a really personal way. Like, why are these people who are my friends throwing me into this
Yeah.
elimination? But
Yeah.
outside of here, we're cool and we have these nice conversations. But then all of a sudden, I'm the one that they're throwing in. So I liked the fact that I heard you say you were able to create a separation where you're like, game is game and personal is personal, and I'm gonna keep
Hmm.
those on their own islands.
Took a long time to get there, but yeah, because I took everything personal, and I would think, don't trust anybody. I still say, especially don't trust anybody. But I would start to open my heart to people or expect that people would treat me the way I treated them. And when people would take any opportunity to use me for clout, uh, the and just the complete toxicity of what was social media at the time, it's wildly different now. Um, and it's such a different time. And back then it
It's
was I think that you have to go through the dark to see the light. And I am in such a good place mentally, like who I am, what I bring to the show, who I am within the franchise itself. Um, I'm in a very content, happy place, and I feel like I can separate the game officially and the things the fans say about an edit, and I just don't care about anything as long as I get the chance to play. I'm happy. Clearly, like when certain situations happen, like with the Laurel thing, I'm like, well, here's what happened. I just want to tell you my story of what happened that day. That's
yeah.
it. We'll let it out there. We'll let it live. So things like that, I'll say, but like you're not going to hear me saying. I'll never say like bad things about people or name
You
call
don't.
people
You really
or
don't.
I just say, hey, this happened. This is how I felt. Like that's kind of how I go about things now, and I stay out of the drama as best I can.
As best you can. So
Yeah.
something you said, well, I was thinking a couple of things I was thinking about as you were talking. One is in your cameo to me when you said the hardest challenges make the strongest heroes.
Yes.
So that whole arc that you're talking about, where
Yes.
the fandom was saying reckless things to you and you're questioning who you are, I think that made you this whole person that you are right now, and you might not have been that without it.
Without any of it, I think even I am. There's a lot of people that have been on the challenge that they're the same. No matter if you watch them on their first season or their last season, they're the same person, right? And I started doing the challenges when I was 23, and I feel like I have changed so much. I started as a complete underdog, non athletic whatsoever, having to crawl my way to the top. That's difficult. So that's something that rather than coming in at the top, coming in as a savage athlete top division, whatever the heck. Um, so people related to me with that, and they were like, "Do I like her? I don't like her. Oh, she's getting better. Oh, she's trying." So it's a struggle where a lot of people wouldn't welcome that. It's going into a million eliminations that a lot of people don't want to do that. It's all the hard things that you don't want to do, but when you get through them and you push through them and you're able to see what you're made out of, that's what makes you stronger. That's what makes people root for you. That's what allows you to help other people that are going through their own dark times. And even making it to the top, maybe getting too big for my britches, maybe getting too callous, too hardened, too many bricks built around my fortress because of how many times I've been hurt or screwed over. And now I've been able to break down those walls, and actually be able to be truly and fully me, whether that's me or Carl. But I just feel like I'm at
Shout out to
I'm
Carl.
shout out to Carl wherever he is. But I feel like I'm at a good place. And you get there from going through the dark, hard times, and that's really what it is. I like to tell everybody over again: would you root for Batman if he just was just steamrolling everybody the whole time,
No, you would not.
or do you root for the Avengers if it's just, oh yeah, pew pew pew, everybody's dead, we're awesome, or are you like, oh my god, wait, how
Got to
are they
get
going to get
through a
out of this? Yeah,
you got to get through a story. They got to be in some kind of danger. Character
yeah.
building, character building choices where they have a choice to get some kind of crazy revenge on somebody, but then they're like, "Wait, I'm a hero. I can't just be reckless and do the same thing they were doing to me." Which I'll kind of circle back to that. But something else I wanted to say was one of the first challengers I ever met was Johnny Bananas. He was at the first
Where?
of he was at a Challenge Mania event in New York, and when he said he was retired. He actually had said at one time, he was like, I'm retired from the challenge. So one of the first thing that I asked him when I saw him, I was like, are you really retired? And I was so shocked by his answer. He was like, I'm definitely not retired. That part didn't shock me. But he was like, I needed a mental health break.
Huh.
Because, and I was like, you seem to be able to, I was thinking to myself, you seem to be able to like absorb everything that's hectic and chaotic. And it's like, I am Johnny Bananas. I'm an agent of chaos, like what he said on his last season. It's like
Hmm.
I got Naya to doubt Jordan, and then I got Tori to get all turned up, and then I got this and this, and I'm just gonna like bask in the fact that everyone's in chaos, and I'm just gonna go back about my day like it's normal.
Yeah.
So I've always been amazed at how somebody can be so amped up all the time and stir the pot so much and still seem like they're just functioning just fine in
Yeah,
that state.
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't tell you what goes on in that guy's head, especially after everything he's done. I think we all have a lot of problems. I'll just put it that way. I think we
I'm
all
sorry.
we all do from what we've been through for sure.
Speaking of which, have you watched, did you ever watch when the Real World Homecoming was on?
What was that?
So the Real World Homecoming was this thing that they did for a brief amount of time on Paramount Plus, where they would take the whole cast or as many of them as they could get from whatever season it was, and then they would bring them back. And they would be 20, 30 years older, and then they would put them in a house. And then, they would meet up with each other. What's been going on over all these years? Then they would have this TV that would show these moments that happened when they were like 19, 20, 21, and they would all be sitting on the couch reliving their worst traumas on that TV. And
Oh
it was
my.
and it got really intense because even though these people are so far removed, you put them back with these people, and sometimes the people triggered them and
Yeah.
brought them back to a place where they were all that time ago, right?
Wow.
So the reason I'm mentioning that is because I mentioned earlier how you didn't have a real world season, but
Yeah.
Fresh Meat 2 was basically your birth onto the You're a challenge baby, right?
Yep.
And I felt like All Stars 4 was that in a sense for you? Because I'm like, there's so much going on.
Yeah, that's
Like,
fair.
and I'm like, you had to be much better because there's other seasons where there was less going on. There was this season where everything was in your face. I'm thinking about the whole thing with Cam, where Cam wanted you to vote a certain way, but then you got your star early, and
Hmm.
then you were like, Rachel, me and you are Stargates.
Yeah.
So we're strong women, and people are gonna want to take our stars since we got them so early.
Hmm.
So we're gonna protect each other. And then you felt like this is inconsequential to the vote because Rachel is going in anyways.
Hmm.
And it was taken a different way, where Cam said, I think that you wanted to tie the votes up so that it wouldn't be Rachel and it would be
No, no, she was just saying that. She knew because I had talked to her before we even did the vote. She knew that I was not going to vote for Rachel. I was like,
okay,
I'll say any other name. Whatever happens, I'll throw in any other name. I was like, but I just can't say Rachel. And she was like, okay, I understand that. And then,
was
that's why I
upset.
was shocked at the show that she put on in the elimination. I mean,
I
in
got
the
you.
deliberation. It was like, wait, like we had just talked. Like you knew that I wasn't going to do anything to screw you. You were always going to get what you wanted. Like I wasn't doing
Yeah,
anything underhanded. I just wasn't going to say Rachel's name.
yeah.
And
And
I would have helped Cam at any chance that I could have. Like she would have been the next one. Let's get her star and let's go to the final together. But they have a family and they just said they thought that I was competition and they wanted me gone immediately. So I had different intentions for them out of the gate and throughout the season than they did for me. And I just had to survive. That's how that went,
I
sadly.
see. And then you had your moment where there was a vote of whether you were going to go in or not against Rachel. And then
Oh,
you were
yeah.
like, yeah, I feel pretty good because
Yeah.
I got my boy Brandon and then I got Jasmine in here who I protected.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, they threw some heavy things in there, especially more so with Brandon than Jasmine. Jasmine a little bit, but Brandon a lot.
Yeah.
And that's why I say I kind of compare it to Homecoming because I feel like you were having these like to me off camera type of discussions on camera and meshed in with game. And I was like,
Hmm.
I would be watching the episodes and feeling like this is so much heavier
It
than
it was
yeah,
tough. It was
yeah,
I didn't like the mean girl thing was and especially because that was my first time back and the last
yeah,
time that anybody knew about me, everybody hated me. So coming onto a season and capitalizing on that and being like everybody hates Cara, so we could crap on her, we could vote her in, we could gang up on her, and the fans will be on her side. And it just
yeah.
didn't work out like that. I think they literally everybody just acted that way because they thought that the fans would support them. To be honest, like it
Not
was
gonna
just
name names,
easy.
but I did notice people that were on both seasons with you. That one and season 40 and their relationships on season 40 seemed much better and different than
Mm.
they were on All Stars.
That
So
was
maybe
before All Stars aired too. So I think
yes.
I think I'm not going to say that they're different because of the fan reaction of All Stars. I think they were different because uh, they genuinely got to know me, you know, and they got to see Laurel be Laurel. So I think that kind of just made it easier.
Oh boy. So there's so much Laurel stuff. I cut out as much as I could, to be honest
Thank
with
you.
you. But there was a thing that they showed on All Stars 4 where she came to you as a friend. I guess you were friends at that time. And she was like, this thing with Nicole is messing with me.
We
And
weren't. I think she
oh,
was
you
just
were not.
I think she was just manipulating me. I thought we were, but we weren't
Okay.
because she was manipulating me and using me just like she was with Nicole.
So how did that make you feel when you gave this, genuine advice?
Hmm.
We've seen this movie play out before over the course of years. So I believe you need to just leave it alone. And then it ends up with Nicole coming over to yell at you and then her standing over you. You don't understand anything. Like, did you feel like this is surreal or was it like it's replaying itself all over again?
I mean, you saw my reaction.
I did.
I was used to her being like that. Like I was like, oh, this is just a Laurel reaction. She just yells and gets in my face and towers over me and says mean things, and that's just who she is and what she does. And I used to just think that was normal, but that's not normal. You don't do that to friends, you know? And I mean, I explained it enough as it was there. I thought I have a soft spot, and when it's not like I would ever. I knew immediately when I saw Laurel and Nicole were on a season together. No matter what they did off the season, how they yelled at each other, how they hated each other, how they ended things. I'm like, if they're on a season together, and I'm there, they're gonna get together, and it's gonna be against me. I just knew it from the get go. And from the airport, Nicole was like trying to be besties with me, but I knew that wasn't going to last. And I, had my reservations with Nicole. And, then Nicole and Laurel got together. And, but the thing is like, me and Nicole were never close, but me and Laurel used to be. So I had a soft spot for her. And she constantly would come to me and cry all the time about Nicole, multiple times a day. They can't even air it. Like our heads were spinning. And it was a constant. She made it my business because if you see your friend constantly cry to you over and over. Meanwhile, Nicole is crying to Jay and Ace constantly. So they would make out, they'd fight, and they'd cry. They'd make out, they'd fight, and they'd cry, and it was constant. And Laurel told me a lot of personal things about the relationship and about what Nicole did to her and how she treated her. So naturally, I was going to be defensive and protective of Laurel, and that's but it is what it is. The rest is history. I mean, we saw what happened with them, so
We did. So just jumping really quick into the All Stars for finale. What
mm-hmm.
did you think about the finale, and what did you think about the star advantage twist?
I mean, I posted this on a recent Instagram story, but my basic feelings on it is it's the challenge. So whatever rules they want to make, whatever twist they want to have, it's part of the game. If you're ruthless, if you're a cutthroat competitor and you make it to the final, regardless of if you were nice or mean or whatever, you made it there. And if you won because you genuinely did the best, because you outran, you outpaced, you outpuzzled, you outswam, if you won, you deserve that win. You don't deserve it taken away from you because of some bitter loser that went home earlier. And it sucked so bad. The way that happened, I thought in my heart of hearts, I'm like, okay, for the stars, what the most they're going to do is maybe give her like a 30-second or a minute head start for every star. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know that it was going to be skip an entire checkpoint. And I wish upon wishes, if there was one thing they could have done different, if they just had to have the star twist, cool. But I wish that we were allowed to run that final so that we could see who actually crossed the finish line first by doing everything that was required, not skipping anything, who actually finished first. And then production could have been like, all right, well, Laurel got 3 extra stars, so even though you finished ahead of her, she wins. You know what I mean? Like, I wish it was that, so I at least could have known that I could have crossed the finish line before her first. Like, if she had to do all of the things that I had to do. Because it was so close, and she got to skip 3 extra puzzles that I had to do, and it was still so close. So that's what kills me. And nobody was going to give me their star. Steve wasn't going to give me his. Ace wasn't going to give me his. They were going to give it back and forth to each other. I was totally on my own for that, and I did the best I did the absolute best I could do, and unfortunately, the twist was not in my favor.
Honestly,
and that's what happened.
I think you did really well. As a fan, I
Brutal.
mean, I was disappointed in how that played out. Not just because I'm a fan of you, but honestly, like I'm also a sports fan, like an avid sports fan. So I'm like, whoever wins the competition. I can accept that. But then once I saw what those stars do and how
Mm-hmm.
huge of an advantage that is, I was
Brutal.
like, this ain't
And
it.
second place and third place get the same amount of money. What's that crap? What is that? What the hell? There were so many things that I'm upset about, but I had such a season of overcoming so much that I was proud of my performance and how I did. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm like, what the frick?
And that's why my
You.
stars were so important to you, right?
They really touched my heart. Thank you.
Um, you're welcome. So, jumping into Battle of the Eras, how did you feel after being away from the flagship show for quite some time? Unless you include 39, where you made your cameo in there. But aside from that, a full flagship season. How were you feeling physically and mentally going into that particular season? Battle of
I
the Eras.
Going into Battle of the Eras, I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified. I had no clue what I was going to be walking into. After going through what I went through on All Stars, I assumed I was going to walk right into the fire again, and everybody was going to come after me again, and it was going to be another like fight for survival. And I just get so much anxiety. Like anytime I get the call to be on the challenge, I mean, I'm so thankful and I'm excited, but I get anxiety, I get terrified, I get weird. Like a month or so before I leave, my friends and family see I start acting different. I get panicky, and then I just kind of walk in, and then I just get right to it. So I was terrified for
Well,
sure.
that's fair. I want to say that regardless of how it ended up for you, which we're going to get there, it was something that looked like it was going to be a repeat of All Stars 4 at the beginning. I was like,
But
oh my,
yeah,
I was messaging you about this. I was like, oh my goodness, here we go again.
I know.
With the whole thing with Laurel going at Michelle and then the whole big argument that happened and the TikTok explanation that you were talking about. And I said, is this gonna be a whole season again
I
of,
know.
of like Laurel versus Cara? Then
Ugh,
I almost hate to say this, but I don't hate to say this at the same time. We got the gift of this purge, this mini final. And one thing you had been saying in the confessionals multiple times, you were like, you know what? I don't think that she's in as good a shape as all these other like really badass fit female competitors on this season. And I don't think she really thinks that she can beat them. And so the I quit, the conditions are terrible was kind of more like, I don't want to actually concede that I was beaten.
hmm Yeah, what you said. Exactly.
So after that, I do recall you saying, y'all are going to see a lighter side of me. You're going to see some friendships and some fun with the tarot cards and with with the Carl and with Dave and your relationship with Tori, deep conversations that y'all had with Derek. There was like so many things that we got to see, I feel like, because I
Yeah.
felt like if you two were in there, the camera crew was going to be like, let's follow them around until something happens.
Do you know what's funny? This is the first season that I went on. Usually I just do my own thing anyways, but like I actively avoided the cameras. Like if the cameras were coming or they were in a room or they were going to film something, I'm like, I think I'll just go over here. Like I would just kind of get out of the way. I'm like, they're not even, I'm like, I stayed out of everything so much this season. I was like, I had fun, but I'm like, they're not going to even be able to show anything of me. Like I really just played so low key. I just wanted to like breathe and I wanted to enjoy myself. And I just yeah, it was crazy because everywhere Kylan went, he made sure he would bring the cameras with him. And so it's crazy looking at this season, and I'm like, where's Kylan? Because he was really, he would bring the cameras in every corner, in every room, every people were having game. I didn't talk game at all, really, to anybody until Corey at the end, and I was like, so
Oh yeah.
we're
Yeah, that
last
was
on
funny.
everybody's list. Do you want to just look out for each
That conversation was
other?
hilarious. Like,
Yeah,
based on what Michelle chooses, was it Michelle? Who was
yeah.
he working with? It was Michelle,
Uh,
right?
Michelle, like, yeah, he was working with a few
Basically,
people, but he was last on
it was
everybody's
somebody who said,
list.
if they pick me as a target, then we're gonna be working together.
Yeah, it was Michelle. I
It
mean,
was Michelle.
basically because, you know, everybody had their list of people that they were protecting, and Corey was at the bottom, and I was at the bottom of
Yeah.
everybody's,
It was a
So
defaulted partnership.
yeah, I was like, so we're here.
It
Yeah.
what's funny though is with you, it doesn't even seem to matter you've gotten there with majority groups before, like when you had Polly on there and some different seasons. And then you've had other seasons where it's like I have nobody but myself. I'm just gonna just kind of win my way and work my way in there and somehow get to a final.
Yeah,
So
I just put my head down and try to survive. I don't play a smart political game. I don't tell everybody I got you, you got me. Like I don't do any of that. I just freaking survive. I'm like I got to do real good on this challenge, and if I don't, I got to do real good on the elimination that I'm probably going to go into. Like I don't
and
play a smart game. I always play a hard game,
yeah.
but that's what makes me me.
And I've heard you say before that the fandom sometimes says Paulie being on the game makes everything worse for you. And you're like, actually, he's the politician.
He
So
is.
he's the one who makes all the deals. And I just do, the work
It's
to
true.
make
It's
the
true. I
base.
don't I don't do any politicking, any deals. Paulie is really I mean, he's big brother, man. Like he's good at the social game for sure.
The game has become Big Brother-ish.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about how the game has changed over the years from when you started playing it versus like the current present day game?
I'm glad that there's no more, I was gonna say no more bullying. Uh I'm glad that it doesn't seem to be as toxic.
Mhm.
Um we're in a different era, a different generation, and I know, now they're throwing stuff out there like karma and stars. So it's like, I guess you're going for like a everybody be nice to each other reality show, which is, better for me to live in. Maybe not as entertaining for the fans who like a little bit of drama, but it doesn't seem. It, I don't know. I've only done 2 seasons. All Stars was hard. And 40 was rough in the beginning, and it just depends on the theme and everything else. But I guess I don't know. I guess where they're constantly bringing in so many new people, there's not really a chance for it to be maybe as clicky. I don't know. I don't really know.
I
But
think when I think
we're
when I think when you started back, you can say that because
yeah,
we got like a few seasons in a row where there was like 6 to 8 Big Brother people on the season, and they were an instant click.
yeah.
So they were just like Casey in that group, and Josh and Fessy, Amber. Well, not necessarily Amber as much, but a lot of them were like we were all on the same show, and we're all together in
Oh,
this huge group.
I missed all of those seasons.
So we have the numbers always. So
Yeah,
it did have a clicky time, but now I see that they have dispersed it a little bit more. So I see what you're saying since you've come back.
yeah. I don't know.
Um,
I really don't know because, like I said, I only have All Stars and 40, so
yeah.
I don't have a full grasp on what's going on right now. Still, okay.
Your relationship with Tori, a lot of the fans thought that it was really cool to see you and Tori, especially when we saw you and Tori as Carl and Dave, and the fun that y'all were having in the house. But I've also seen some things where you had some deep conversations with her that were not aired. She's talked about that, and you've talked about that.
Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about how those conversations went towards repairing and maybe even creating a new kind of relationship between y'all?
It's just, I think going into this season, me and Tori were 1,000% enemies. 1,000%. It was game on, but and I had a big chip on my shoulder from All Stars and everything else, and I came on this season like I'm going to be fighting for my life. And the thing is Laurel and Johnny actually did me a favor by making themselves so big and bright. Like, don't look over there. No, you're our enemy. It's us. We are the Joker to your Batman. Us over here. You know what I mean? And they made themselves so undeniable that I had to focus on them 100%. And I'm like, all these other people are behind me, like loaded, but they're like, oh, I guess she's busy over there. So like
Yeah.
people were able to start putting their guns down a little bit. And then in that fight, and the format of the game and everything, me and Tori were able to have more conversations. And it's so funny because it's so funny how things ended because even in the beginning, when we first did Dave and Carl, we were floating in the pool together as Dave and Carl. Like, I just remember, like, we had this whole thing and we were laughing and we started, like,
That
getting
was so
along.
funny.
And we were in the pool with our wigs on, our full outfits as Dave and Carl floating in the pool together. And I'm like, and then even right before we did our elimination, me and her had like a whole day before we even knew we were going into, before we even knew uh, the challenge or whatever. We were, or maybe it was after. I forget when we moved or what we did, but we were swimming in the pool together. Me and Tori, just me and Tori doing like, let's do the mermaid, let's do the dolphin, let's just float. Me and her, it was like we were just doing that. And then odds of odds, we end up floating together for
I
three
was just
hours in the
about to say
ocean.
I just wanted to just dive into the next question, you know what I'm
Guys,
saying?
pun.
Listen, on All Stars 4, we're like, we get this big epic matchup between two badass women,
I know the
Cara,
fans might be disappointed. I'm not. I'm
Cara,
fine. I'm
Maria, and
lightweight.
Rachel. We want to see them like pole wrestling or hall brawl or
You
like
just
shaking.
want to see me in pain. Honestly, like everybody's like, I could sit here right now and be like, yeah, I really want to hold bro Tori. No, I'm
No,
fine that I was.
but
I'm like,
not Tori. I was gonna say that too, but I mean, first when you had that
oh
big
yeah,
matchup with
yeah,
Rachel, it was like a star dart thing where you're throwing things at the dartboard.
yeah,
Then next we get this thing with Tori, and it's like,
yeah.
wow,
I'm
after
not mad at any of it because if I went home to Rachel in a dart throwing thing, I'd be like, oh well, like
you
that
felt less
elimination,
pressure.
that takes nothing from Rachel. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like whatever that happened. It's just the luck of the draw when it comes to the challenge.
yeah.
And with Tori, we didn't have to solve a puzzle. We didn't have to eat anything. We didn't have to run. We didn't have to run into each other or pull something from each other. We just had to float next to each other. And honestly, I couldn't think of a more uh, perfect ending,
You know
honestly.
what? You know what I find funny though? The fandom saying, I mean, I understand for other challenges, like other swimming challenges, but the
Hmm.
fandom talking about, hey, work on your swimming when it comes to like floating in the water. Because I'm sitting here and I'm saying to myself, if you were in there for like 3 hours, that means that you did extremely good.
Thank
Like,
you.
and I heard how you and Tori described the conditions where there
Uh,
was like things floating underneath y'all and snakes and like it was just the water going over your face and I saw
yeah.
this one thing this one interview where he said, "Is this gonna end when I drown?"
Yes, that's what I thought. I'm like, how even Tori was like, I like, how are you judging this? What are we doing just till one of us dies? Like, I don't understand how you judge that it is over. Like, what? I was so psyched out. I was so psyched out. But I ended up, but I'm stubborn. And I was like, I'm not,
Okay.
every time I saw TJ see me start to drown and he'd come over and I'm like, no, I'm not quitting. Like, um,
It's yeah.
yeah. So, you never know. I feel so bad for Tori because when I tell you, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again, I was straight from giving the karma vote on the beach with TJ. I walked right up to my hotel room that was off that beach, and production would be coming in and out on their boats heading to the island, doing their shift changes for everybody that was in the final. And I was in agony. My body was wrecked. I was sick to my stomach. I was vomiting. I was like, I was sick and I was in so much pain I could barely walk. And I'm like, Tori has is doing the final. Like she probably had to stay awake all night and go straight into a final. I was like, she is at such a disadvantage right now. I was like, I feel bad that happened.
She's
Like that's
swimming and then yeah, she gets on the boat and she has to stand up and hold the thing. I'm like,
it's like
sheesh.
she is exorbitantly sick. And when I
Yeah.
heard how sick she was, I was like, well, that makes sense because I am too. I and her doing all that, as sick as she was, like, that's serious. That's some serious shit.
I'm not the biggest fan of the finale so far, what we've seen so far, because I'm like, this is the swimming and puzzle challenge, and I'm so used to the challenges. Like swimming is fine to be a leg
As
of
an
the challenge
element. As
as
an
an element.
element.
Like
Yeah.
we've seen cool ones like when you were in the canoe and everything.
Oh, I loved
Like
it. I love
yeah,
rowing. I'll row for days.
rowing, and then there's like
Mm-hmm.
some swimming parts where you have to get on an island. But I'm used to
Mm-hmm.
seeing you run through the forest, you finish some puzzles, you carry some heavy things on your shoulders. I'm like, I hope in part two there's something more than that, but in the previews, it didn't really look like that.
This
Um,
is a swim. The thing with the challenges, you have to be good at literally everything because you never know what they're going to throw at you. I mean, literally anything. Ninja star throwing,
yes,
wrapping yourself in hot dog condiments while you're rolling around on a
yes,
beach. I mean, puzzles. Like, oh, you have to be good at puzzles, but like every type of puzzle you could possibly imagine because puzzle is a very general term. Like, it's not just I got to be good at running. Like,
yes,
puzzles is there's a lot of different things within a puzzle. Like, so you might be good at one, but not at whatever random thing gets thrown at you.
yeah.
Um, and swimming. And I am probably an above average swimmer, honestly, but with that group of women, they were extraordinary swimmers. So they'll make anybody look bad. You know what I mean? That group of women, you even know, Michelle was in the swim team in school. Like she
I didn't
loves
know
this.
that. Wow.
So they're really, really good. And so I would have definitely come in fourth place, especially with the karma points, because people are
Yeah.
like, yeah, but people liked you this season. I wasn't anybody's number one. Polly gave me a 5. Sure, nobody else did.
Yep.
Maybe CT. Um, so
I liked how you said that you gave everyone a 5, except for Johnny.
I wasn't going to sit there and start nitpicking. Well, Jordan voted for me, so I'm going to give him a 3. And Rachel and Jenny were with Johnny, so they get 3s. And then I really want Derek and Michelle to win, so they get 5. And how do I feel about Tori? Because now we're friends now. Do I give her a 5 or like a 4? Because Michelle, I want, like, you know what I mean? And I'm sitting there and I'm like, nah, I'm like, everybody, fuck Johnny. But everybody, like, that's a long thing, Stan. He wants to be number one. I gave him number one. But everybody, I was like, dude, I'm like, everybody worked their asses off to be here. Everybody deserves to be here. Everybody went into multiple eliminations. Everybody won multiple challenges. Like, as much as I'd love to give Derek and Michelle an extra edge, I don't feel that it's right to take it away from Jordan or like put him at a disadvantage. Like, I don't know. I just gave everybody a 5. I was like, I'm not fucking with them except for
To
Johnny.
be honest with you, I like that strategy. I don't like karma points because people can pick them for anything. It
Yeah.
almost reminds me of like jury votes on a
Yeah.
show where you get to the end of the show and it's like, okay, the jury decides.
I mean, I wouldn't mind it if it was like, all right, um, uh, Derek, you got the best
You,
karma,
you
so
get an
you
advantage, a
you
three
get an
minute
advantage.
advantage.
Oh,
Yeah.
you get to sleep on a mattress instead of on
Yes.
the
Yes.
floor. You
I
don't have to
agree.
stand with your arm up the whole time. I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind it if it was that type of advantage. I I'm not seeing that has come into play. So with what the karma votes end up doing, hopefully it's not a significant impact in the game. I was hoping it would just be like a handicap or a additional benefit advantage, not a whatever might happen. Because I think if you
Absolutely.
if you win, I think you should win because you fucking killed it, not because somebody gave it to you. I would never feel right about that. If I won, cool, but I'd always feel a little like, yeah, well, that when they voted, how I would just feel so weird about it. Like even Laurel, like if I beat Laurel because I got to skip a bunch of obstacles, I'd be like, yeah, I beat Laurel, but it's not like really beating Laurel because, I got to skip, it's not like a real win. It is on paper. I'll take it. Great. The check cashes, but like, I'm not going to brag about it, like that kind of thing. I'd be real humble. That's all.
I got you. I just want to say you had an awesome comeback season. I mean,
Thank you.
2 seasons.
Thank
One, you made
you.
the final. That last one, they showed this picture. I think that one of you posted it. Maybe it was Tori, or maybe it was you, or maybe both. It looked so sad. It looked like I was watching Jack and Rose or something on the
Oh, I
Titanic.
probably posted it. I had a whole
That
series.
facial
Yeah.
expression that you had, I was like,
Yeah.
this is so sad looking, but I'm so glad to see you now that you're like, I wouldn't have had it any
Yeah.
other way. I'm
No.
happy for the way that things went, and
Yep.
I'm at peace with it.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be. No matter what happens on the challenge, even if it's like a bad call or a malfunction or anything, you just have to be like,
Puzzlegate,
awesome. Can I play again? You know what I mean? The whole thing is just like just being thankful for the chance to play and realizing that you're on a TV show. Anything can happen, any twist can come, like anything can happen, and you just got to be thankful to be there. And like that's all I care about. So anything
I did,
else?
I did want to ask you though about the whole thing with the fans screen capturing the puzzle of Jenny and then being like, it doesn't fit, like the math ain't math in here. Did that make you think of all kind of what if scenarios when you saw that? Or did you see it at the time?
I saw it after the fact because when it
Okay.
happens you tear apart your puzzle
You're in the
right away,
moment.
you get the
Yeah.
check, you tear it apart, you don't look at anybody else's things in that situation. And yeah, so I saw the fans posting after the fact, but I trust whatever that call is made. You just gotta stand by them and know that everybody's trying their best, and I just want to do another season.
Derek,
You know,
I kind of understand your answer there.
yeah, all I care
Derek,
about is just competing again, because you
D
never know. You never know.
Derek always calls it the challenge gods. He's like,
Yeah.
sometimes the challenge gods are with you and sometimes they're against you, and you just live with it and kind of move on. The challenge All Stars 5, which is rivals themed. Have you taken a look at the cast? What do you think about that?
I It's funny because I was so excited to watch this season just to see what happens, and I've heard some things from castmates on the inside that I'm like, "Aw." Um, but I'm gonna give it a shot. I'm gonna watch how it plays out and see what goes down. I'm really curious. It's a very interesting cast.
I'm gonna tell you something. I generally love a rivals theme. I love all your
I love
old classic
Rivals.
themes from exes, rivals,
And
like all these.
I like it when you stay a team or you stay a rival the entire time and it's not like, and now we're going individual. Like I
Yeah.
just want to stay with someone, like, so I would love to do that in the future. I love pairs seasons. Like
But
you
you,
said,
yeah.
um, I had two comeback seasons. I hope I can go for a third time's a charm. And all I care about is playing, man. I just want to get another chance to play.
I want to say you did rob us of potentially getting one of the best rivals teams if you had not made up with Tori and they're like, "Hey, Tori and Cara are a team." That would
I
have been
know.
that would have been good, but
And we
unfortunately,
it couldn't work out that way because as soon as I came home from filming, they were literally leaving. They were already setting up for to film All Stars 5. So it was
gotcha.
way too tight of a turnaround, like within days, and it just couldn't be done. Otherwise, if I had got eliminated maybe a week or two earlier, I might have been on All Stars 5.
Wow. But when I looked at the All Stars 5 rivals list, I saw some people that I understood why they were rivals, and then I saw some other people that I was like,
Like who?
Devin and Leroy. Uh,
Leroy. It's Leroy's best chance at a
I was
win.
like, some of these look like I'm sure when we see the episode, they'll find some kind of argument they had 10
Yeah, I
years
have
ago.
no clue. I have no clue about Devin and Leroy. That does not make any sense at all. Maybe because Devin and Johnny are
That's what people have
rivals
been saying
and
when I've been asking that. They were
Leroy's
like,
Johnny's best friend. I don't know.
one of the
I
things somebody wanted me to ask you because I asked for some fan questions
hmm
about Jimmy, the emotional support unicorn,
Yes.
and to ask you if you still bring Jimmy with you onto
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Shannon and Brittany. Brittany is Jimmy's godmother. And they're two fans of the show. Brittany's an absolute love bug, and now everybody has a Jimmy. I think Tina has a Jimmy brother. I think Avery got a little Jimmy. Who else? There's so many of us now that have little Jimmies. Um, but Tina's is Cornelius, but he's a little unicorn, and he was on season 40. And Jimmy is my reminder that of how much love and belief there is in me from the fans. So I keep Jimmy with me because if I doubt myself or if I feel sad or if I feel um, alone, it's like I look at Jimmy and I'm like, you got this. Like so many people believe in me at home. So many people have so much love for me. Like don't forget that. And he's my reminder. So I take him with me on all my adventures.
Awesome. I really love that story. She told me that story, and I was like, of course, I'm going to ask that if I get the chance.
Yeah.
Told me, they said, what do you think of for an elimination? They get fans, and we get to go in the stands. We pay for a ticket to go in there. And then we get to watch y'all in the pit or the sand or whatever, and it adds to some excitement and some transparency. Like, what would you think of that kind of idea?
Do you think this is Gladiator? They could never ever have a live audience see our eliminations. There's too much stuff that happens.
I believe you.
They could never do.
So, Cara, I just want to thank you so much for taking this time to be on
Mm-hmm.
this. This was like giving me 3 stars back, to be honest with you.
Aww.
I'm somebody that I have watched and admired for a number of years, and to get a chance to actually speak to you, sit down and have this interview, I'm honored. So thank you so much.
Thank you for everything, and I hope I get to see you at another event soon. Maybe we'll do like a
Yes.
little live quickie podcast next time. And
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. We'll have to like shoot the tea about All Stars 5 when we watch.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We'll
Yes.
be we'll
Absolutely.
fan out together.
Yes. 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 Thank
Thank you for tuning in to Mindful Reality with Mark. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more great content. Let's have a conversation.